This is a closeout presentation for the Catalyst site Improved Proposal Data. And this is a proposal from Fund 5 in the challenge Catalyst Value Onboarding. The proposal received $8,400, which was equivalent to 3,323 ADA, which is what was actually received. In terms of proposal deliverables, the intentions of this proposal was to improve proposal data by expanding on and improving the team profile information, enabling categorization of projects, and creating links between the connected proposals from the same teams. So the deliverables here really focus on the identifiers for the categories and looking at what that data model made sense and collaborating around that, creating the data structures and adding that to the database, and then the back end and front end for allowing people to kind of come in, claim ownership, and flesh out that information. Now, the issues, blockers and issues we had with this proposal, and also we had some changing environments. So one of the main blockers we faced was a lack of access to Catalyst data sources. There was no clear and easy to use API to kind of extract this data. And as well as this, there was no way to kind of authenticate who owned what proposal. So without that, we couldn't really execute what we wanted to with our proposal. And then the second blocker we faced was around product development environment. So it was difficult to understand exactly what the Catalyst team were doing. We presented some presentations and case and information about why the data sources were so important and why this needs to be a priority for us to be able to experiment and do things in the community. And this took multiple months for them to kind of state that we were going to create a Catalyst API. And then still to this day, that's been like an ongoing pursuit of actually kind of making that viable. Still to this day, do we not have a way that you can kind of verify that someone owns certain proposals, so then you can kind of verify that in your own kind of applications and then do extensions of the main process. So as well as this was ongoing and we were kind of waiting for that to materialize, but hasn't, there's also been a changed environment where Lidonation has manually extracted this data himself and launched that on their website. And this ultimately limits the impact of us executing our proposal, because in the current form of the data we have available, we would be making the same read-only access kind of coverage to view the Catalyst proposals. So executing it now would still lack those integrations, and we just wouldn't be able to create the impact we were intending to. So these issues and blockers we face for this proposal, we have documented in documentation and in a video that if you want to dive into deeper, you're more than willing to do so. So how do we get over these kind of blockers? So instead of just sitting on our hands, we've found ways to kind of completely repivot this proposal to kind of create impact for the ecosystem in another way. So we've done a lot of research and analysis with insightful and actionable information about how to improve treasury systems that was applicable to Catalyst. And that has led to a number of resources that we're now using to make recommendations and suggestions to experiment with things in the Catalyst process. In terms of addressing the KPIs, the challenge KPIs had: how do new people learn about Catalyst, and how can we provide a central source of constantly updated information? So although this proposal didn't directly help with that, we had another proposal, education resources, which very directly did. So those efforts in that proposal helped to lead to the suggestion and creation of an official destination of Project Catalyst documentation, which is now being pushed live. But in terms of this proposal, we pivoted the execution efforts to the Web3 association efforts to make those insightful and actionable information resources about treasury systems. And these have led to many resources which you can find on the docs.treasuries.co and disbursement.treasuries.co so far. Now, the analysis and our experience in the ecosystem helped us to lead us to making 7 different Catalyst improvement suggestions. And we believe that executing some or all of these suggestions could result in a great opportunity to improve the Catalyst funding process. The analysis already available helps to challenge some of the approaches being taken by the Catalyst team to improve Catalyst over time and suggest some more simple and scalable solutions that are worthwhile consideration and experimentation. In terms of key learnings, I think the key obvious things that we found for this proposal, as well as our proposal tracking proposal that was similar, was the importance of open APIs and SDKs. So without having access to the data and being able to verify certain things, it was very difficult to kind of make anything beyond just read-only access and very manually labor-intensive kind of extensions to the main process. We couldn't deliver what we were intending to without the kind of data sources and integrations being more readily available. The second thing was the importance of a more collaborative product development process. So like if in the future, if it's very clear on exactly what's going to be delivered, what the intentions are and why certain things are being done over others, then that's going to be really useful if that's coming from the Catalyst team and also community members and different projects to understand how each team can fit in and contribute to the ecosystem. That's something that really needs to be much more improved over time, just so we can really kind of align our efforts with things are actually going to be delivered at certain times, so you can rely on being able to do things as you intended to do. And then finally, the importance of flexibility. So this proposal is obviously a very good example of that, where we've just had to rethink how we approach the proposal due to those blockers. And as we've realized we're not going to create the same impact by doing what we're intending to, we've reallocated those efforts. So it's super important for proposals to be able to consider, is what we're doing actually going to make impact? Is there blockers or anything that we can get around? Or how else can we approach this to make sure that the final result will actually deliver some form of impact for the ecosystem? That is the kind of key outcome you're trying to make. In terms of future work, for this proposal specifically, we've not got any intentions for continuing it due to the lack of APIs and integrations available. All the future work that we will be doing will be coming through the Web3 Association, which is focused on improving treasury systems. And you can find all of that on the web3association.co website. In terms of links, we have all of our initial development efforts around looking at that data model, look at all the data we needed, and all of those areas of work in our Notion. We've also got the tag seed data, which is looking at things like the categories and how we kind of group projects together. We started that work on there. We also have the idea scale data tool. So that was extracting data from idea scale with a Lambda serverless function. That if the IOG deployed that to production, we could have had that better access there. That, because of privacy and regulation concerns, that was never deployed in the end. And that's when we realized then, we need to do pause and eventually pivot to the Web3 Association work, which you can find all the links there. So you've got the docs.treasuries.co, disbursement.treasuries.co, the 7 Catalyst improvement suggestions we've done recently that applies that analysis and our experience. And then finally, we've got a contribution log from August to October of everything we've kind of done around that work. And that's it. Thank you for listening, guys.